reporter, as you're uniquely qualified to be.
Sure.
Can you be the
Regards to
reporter
what?
asking me about the events that were happening at late night as Snoop Dogg was saying curse words, saying naughty words, and having a money gun and stripper poles?
Almost entirely.
Mr. Jeff Long, sir, how could you allow these atrocious acts to happen?
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Atrocious. I'm going to need you to atrocious acts. What atrocious acts are you referring to?
The children were scarred.
In
sir.
what regard? In what way? Excuse
Because of
you.
the-
What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Joshua Brisco with an E.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
I want your boss's business card. I'm going to make a phone call. I'm Jeff Bleepin' Long. I'm the athletic director at the University of Kansas. You will not question my judgment. You will do no such thing. You know where you're going to have to go? Miles away from here. You're going to have miles to go. On ESPN Plus, I'm Jeff Long.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Unfortunately, it's become a bit of a recurring bit around here that even on nights when we do have the opportunity to talk about the Royals, something kind of eventually leads us to the point where we don't really want to talk about the Royals.
Their play?
Yeah, I mean, and every time it is their play. That's a fair point, Rudy. It's not just like that we don't want to, because I think the most we've talked about the Royals recently has been about their City Connect uniforms, which I still am a big fan of, despite the fact that you have to pay $475 plus shipping and handling and taxes if you want the number on the front. Today was going to be one of those days.
Not bothering you, clearly.
No,
You've gotten over it.
That part I'm over.
You're over it.
But I think also, you know what? Like I want one of those. Like it's a cool little representation of Kansas City. And gosh darn
They're
it,
really cool uniforms.
gosh darn it, pardon my language, but I would like to represent Kansas City in many different forms. And I wish that the baseball team did a better job of. Let me just take out the word of. Did a better job.
Major League
Period.
Baseball, because I'm sure this isn't all the Royals' decision. I don't know exactly how that works, right? Because I
mean in general again. I've already moved away from the jerseys into the entirety of do a better job. Period. No, absolutely.
Yeah, but where I'm going with is this basically the slogan of Major League Baseball: we won't let you watch us, nor will we let you buy our stuff.
That is sort of the unifying thing. That's the theme
We don't
of.
want to grow our game. If
Right.
it will help us,
We don't
nah.
want it. Exactly. So I think that's been a little continuous gripe for me. Is I hate whenever it's like, boy, what happens to why is our sport dying? It's just like your jerseys are $500 to get the numbers on the front, and your app doesn't work.
The other version of the jersey, like, don't get me wrong, it's still expensive, but it's relatively in line with other sports jerseys, right?
Yeah.
Like it is a. I don't know exactly where every sport is at, but I imagine it is within 10% of every other sport, right? So
I think
it's fair.
I think I spent. I'm not a prude, nor am I Mr. Monopoly.
No.
But I think I spent like $80 on the first Monarchs jersey that I got at their opening day of their rebrand. I'm willing to pay for it. I just want it to look. I think the Monarchs one, and it's not stitched on MLB authentic quality, and that's okay.
That's fine.
But I think
okay.
it's exactly the same as what the actual players are wearing. I just want to get a product that is as good as the real, or just good, just a good product that looks good and feels good. And the Monarchs did a great job with that.
For numbers for a number or two numbers to basically be worth like $400, it's like what are we doing here? And now like the
overall structure of it, to be clear, you don't just add the numbers for like $300 or $350. It is the quote unquote authentic, but anything less than that does not have the numbers on the front. It's a little thing that bothers me as someone that that's also an important part of the jersey design. We can't start the entire first segment of the show on this again. You get your last word, Wordy.
And I'm sure you've seen we haven't talked about it, funny enough, but the idea that Bally Sports wants you to pay almost $200 to watch Royals games for a year. And it's
not great.
Sure, technically there's other stuff there, and the St. Louis Blues probably is more appealing in Kansas City because I think there's a decent amount of St. Louis Blues fans. Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't know if anybody in the city really cares that much about the Thunder.
No, I don't know.
But
somebody does, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure, somebody does. But the fact that they're like, hey, Royals fans, $20 a month.
$20 a month.
to watch a bad baseball team.
So here's
on an app that may or may not work.
I'm going to give you
coming this June.
The faintest counter argument on the app
in
thing.
2023, but we'll see.
I
kind of like Avatar.
That's pretty good. Sorry I stepped on that.
No, I actually think that made it more funnier. Was me essentially stepping on you, continuing to tell the jokes. That was, I think, performed perfectly.
As Caden says on Twitch, once again, it was easier to watch the Savannah Bananas than the Kansas City Royals. That's a problem. On the Bally front, I will say, like, as a NFL Red Zone user, and I say user like in the drug sense, because you can't do anything other than snort or inject Red Zone into your veins. But I think, and actually, to be honest, we're using that family plan on the YouTube TV front, so I have specifically subsidized my family's Red Zone package, but you buy it on monthly and then you cancel it in the off season. So if you're buying Bally, if you're
for sure
getting your Ballies for $20 a month,
but
you could do that during baseball season and cancel it afterwards.
But
baseball's still not good.
It's like 8 months long.
It's a long season.
For the Royals, it's like 7.
Right. It's a pretty long season. It's quite a bit of money. And this is where somehow the common ground between the jersey and the app and the actual reason we're not talking about the Royals today all comes together. Is that we talked about this with Sporting a lot whenever they kind of announced what their whole new media package is going to look like. You will work to overcome a certain number of hurdles for a certain type of product. Sporting is saying, hey, we're trying to win new fans. So if you're not a soccer fan, and again, the Sporting product this year, has had its issues on the field.
To be fair, name any team that loses like 2 of the 3 best players, and nobody's going to be good.
That is legitimately fair. But the end result is the product you watch or listen to.
Not great.
Not great right now.
Better, though. They're playing better.
But it's gotten better.
Still not great.
And they're still hurt.
Tune in tomorrow night. U.S. Open Cup officially starts for Sporting Kansas City versus FC Dallas.
Should be fun. You can hear it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Yes, you can.
No AES tomorrow. And you know what? I'm pretty confident. I know it's a cup, so some of the stuff might be different. I know it's gonna. You know what? I know I can at least do. I know for sure. Listen to Sports Radio 810. I know yes. I know I can open the app. And again, if you're reaching for for a new soccer crowd, if you are football in America, and you're trying to reach new people, you want to make your product accessible. You don't want your jerseys to be too expensive because you want to have people that might say, you know what, I'll spend $80 on a nice jersey. I'll spend $40. Maybe I'll spend $20 on a T-shirt. That now all of a sudden you have a Sporting Kansas City T-shirt in your closet that reminds you that you ought to make sure you check up on how you're feeling about Sporting. Like there are ways to market your sports team and hurdles that you'll be willing to clear. Mm-hmm. If you want to reach to your fan base, you're going to try to knock down those hurdles. If you are the Super Bowl champion reigning Kansas City Chiefs, you could literally put yourself on pay-per-view and you would still get fans paying to watch every single Chiefs game, but that's because it's a great product. Right now, the thing with the Royals is that you have to clear some hurdles on a variety of levels, and the product at the end isn't that good. You'll drive farther to go visit one of the new Whataburger locations than you would to hit up a McDonald's you've been to 10 times.
Well, how fast am I going to get through that line? Because I'll be honest, that matters.
Last night, Renee and I went to see Doctor Strange.
This might be the first Marvel thing you've seen before me. I tried to watch it this weekend, didn't have a chance to. I'm gonna try to at some point this week or weekend.
I am not going to. I'm not going to give you a whiff of an opinion.
Was Doctor Strange in it? Was Doctor Strange in it?
You did ask a question that it's like, oh, the new Spider-Man movie. So was Spider-Man in it?
No, actually.
How many? Ho ho ho.
How many spider legs were in Spider-Man No Way Home?
I think 6, right?
But
24.
The first, the only Spider-Man that was in the movie, obviously, has the suit with the 4 legs.
So you just can't get a straight answer anymore in this Marvel Cinematic Universe, as they call it.
Yeah.
I'll withhold all my Doctor Strange takes until we can do a proper little spoiler alert and talk about it later.
Did you see the Doctor Who news today?
I saw that yesterday. I think last
yesterday.
night.
Yeah. I do like in a weekend in which Doctor Strange debuted. Doctor Who's like, hey, we got to get in on this Doctor action.
Here's a new Doctor for you. Congratulations on the new Doctor. The only reason I even mentioned Doctor Strange now is that after we went to the movie, Renee and I were like looking, like we're kind of hungry. And the parking lot of theater we were at basically was across from like a Taco Bell and a McDonald's. We have a Taco Bell right by our house. They're like, we can go to McDonald's. We got in the line.
We can get Taco Bell whenever.
Whenever we want. We got a Taco Bell factory like a block from us. But the McDonald's is right there. And so we were like, well, let's just go in. We'll just hit the drive-thru there. We sat for like several minutes behind the car in front of us. Also, I have not gone to McDonald's very often, ever. And I maybe have only gone like once or twice since they like cut back their menu as sort of a pandemic thing, I guess. I wasn't that excited about the spicy chicken sandwich I ended up with. I kind of wanted some breakfast food, even though it was like 10 p.m. But apparently not all McDonald's are doing a little all-day breakfast anymore.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
There might be a couple. Some of the McDonald's, I think, do a couple of the items all day, but a lot of the items are just breakfast only now. It's a little...
That, I mean...
It hurt.
It really hurts me.
Yeah.
Really hurts me a lot.
Because the best thing about generally McDonald's, I would say, is the fact that I can get, like a sausage McMuffin is always good.
Always good.
And getting one sometimes at 10 p.m. just
the best.
hits.
The best. I love it. I really do. It's why the Sonic across the street we go to pretty often, as I go to pretty often here. It's across the street from the station. And I like breakfast food at all hours of the day. Anywho, the McDonald's point is that McDonald's was literally right there. Nothing else was all that convenient. We sat in the drive-thru for a couple of minutes. We got some okay food, and we went home.
I would argue that's a 10 out of 10 McDonald's experience.
So what it was...
That is about the perfect McDonald's experience.
To invoke the spirit of Beards McFly into my own soul, it was quintessentially fine. It was fine. It was fine.
Put those on those golden arches.
Fine. McDonald's, it's fine. And that just is what it is.
And they'd still make billions of dollars a year.
Yeah, because you know what it was. I got some McDonald's French fries. Renee got a Oreo McFlurry. We were pretty happy.
You got a McFlurry?
Renee got a McFlurry.
No, but I just mean the ice cream machine wasn't broken.
It worked.
This is literally like a 12 out of 10 McDonald's experience.
That's a fair point.
You went to a McDonald's and got ice cream.
Yeah.
You are one of the lucky chosen few who are told about in songs and stories, but nobody ever really knows these people in real life.
So we ended up going to that McDonald's and having this incredible story to tell. But if I would have had to have paid an extra $20 a month for a McDonald's subscription, and then I would have also had to have driven 8 miles to get there, and then also the only thing in my bag whenever I ordered was an RBI early on from Ryan O'Hearn, I probably wouldn't go back. That is my one and only analogy for you today.
One more thing. Really,
that's my Royals talk. You
really circling back. My only problem, this is not a sporting problem. We're going back to the soccer. Not sporting's fault. This is an MLS problem. Who made the decision at Major League Soccer on one Major League Soccer drive in, I think, New York City? That seems right.
It seems safe.
Made the decision that, you know what? No more long sleeve jerseys. Only short sleeve jerseys. Because you know what it means when players can only wear short sleeve jerseys? It means you can't buy long sleeve jerseys. And I like long sleeve jerseys.
I think we talked about baseball and hockey jerseys / sweaters last week. Long sleeve soccer jerseys. Good. Pretty good.
Can't get them in MLS anymore.
The shirt that I'm wearing right now, it's like a button-up Hawaiian shirt.
Whose jersey is that?
I got an extra button undone here just for Twitch viewers, apparently. I'm going to leave it. This is the jersey
of... Is that the new Chiefs training camp, Andy Reid throwbacks?
No, this is the jersey of every single frat bro who you saw at an outdoor G-Eazy concert one time. I'm not sure if I was wearing this shirt, but this is the shirt that I think if I went.
We were both there.
We were both there. It's us. This is our jersey.
That concert was fun.
It was fun.
I see little Uzi Vert pre-diamond in his forehead. Times were simpler back then.
They really were, man. When he didn't look like Vision. MLS headquarters is located in New York. Several things from the Twitch. Ice Pyro says I'm missing some sunglasses that I can definitely go get those out of my car.
I have some right here for you.
I'll take that. So Wallaby said, in response to your Spider-Man question, 30, 8 legs per spider and 2 legs per Spider-Man.
Here's the problem.
I think we got to draw a line. It's either got to be real legs or I don't know.
Well, the thing is, though, again, like going to Tom Holland's Spidey suit, it only has 4 legs because Tom Holland has 2 legs and 2 hands, which essentially are 4 legs, right? Because like when he crawls,
are we calling hands legs now?
I think for Spider-Man,
arms legs.
I think for Spider-Man because when he crawls up the wall, he's using like his arms, right? Like
arms, though.
But like a spider's 2 front legs, I would say.
But
are
he's a
also
Spider-Man.
But a spider's like dual.
He's a Spider-Man, or in some cases, a Spider-Man.
I would say a spider's 2 front legs, also dual as arms/hands. That's how it picks stuff up to eat. If spiders pick anything up, that's what they use. It's essentially the same thing. So I still think it is just 8 per.
How many legs does Andrew Garfield plus Tom Holland plus Tobey Maguire have? Okay.
Well, it's hard to know.
Just the
they've
actors.
Never been in the same movie together.
Just the actors have 6 total legs. I don't think them playing Spider-Man turns their arms into legs.
But as Spider-Man though, because I'm not saying the actors, yes, but I'm not talking about the actors. I'm talking about Peter Parker, and Peter Parker.
The judge on Twitch says Bally's has Mavericks, Stars, and Rangers in the DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth area. I can't watch any of my teams. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Aspen on Twitch.
They should do something where, like, hey, you select your market.
Yeah.
Like, even if you are living in Dallas,
or
we're just like have access to all of them.
Or
give me $20 a month.
Put it back on. Just put it on streaming.
Like I'm giving you $20 a month. Just like let me watch all your teams that you own.
Aspen also said the Bark of the Park Royals promo coming up is the only time I've ever considered going to a baseball game in at least 5 years.
I mean, I think that's true for a lot of people, actually.
Yeah. Some of these people who had the thought of, maybe going to Bark in the Park would be a fun way to go to a baseball game this year, might be hosting a sports talk radio show in Kansas City right now. Maybe on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I said hosting, not starring, Rudy. So you would have, of course, that would have then been to you. But I think I'm technically hosting, like an MC. You know, like I'm hosting, quote unquote, but.
Who's really hosting?
It's, but it's really about the guests. And by the guests, I mean you and Matt Derrick, who will join us in 40 minutes, by the way.
A little breaking news. Not major. Steve Kerr tested positive for COVID and will not be coaching tonight. Tonight or tomorrow. I forget which.
I think they do.
Or is it tonight?
I think they actually do play. I think there's got to be a game on tonight.
There is a game on
wrong?
tonight because at 9 o'clock we are off the airs for a game. I'm
just
not forgetting what that game is.
I think
it's Golden State.
Memphis.
Mike Brown, who was recently named the Sacramento Kings head coach. Former Cleveland Cavs coach will be the interim. He was like LeBron James's first good coach, I would say. I don't know if he was. I can't remember if he was his first overall coach, but like those Cleveland teams that were good were coached by Mike Brown.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And yes, that is tonight, and that will be on at 9 here tonight. Thank you, Rudy, for reminding me to even mention that. That's kind of interesting. I wonder. I don't know. It's interesting in that way that it can be very difficult to gauge how much game day impact coaches have on teams across sports. And so kind of getting a gauge for that, like in this case, Steve Kerr will have done everything except for coach this game. Now, what it might look like in 3 or 4 days or, for another game or whatever could be a little bit of a different story. But
there's
certainly,
basketball is a little bit like this with baseball where there's always the question of, how much impact does a good coach have? No, a basketball coach has more impact because there are actual plays that you have an offense, you have a defense. There are unique things that you do. Whereas in baseball, right, it's throw baseball, hit baseball, run baseball, pass.
Yes.
But the thing that they do have at least going for him is like Mike Brown's coached in finals, I'm pretty sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he is a guy who is. It is nice that at least having a guy.
He's not going to be
who is
nervous.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, this guy, like. We could sit here, I guess, and argue if he's a good coach or not. Like, his best success was with LeBron James. I think he mostly struggled without LeBron James. I also think that's probably the case for a lot of coaches, right? Like, you have a good player, you're good. You lose good player, and the team around him sucks. You struggle. That's kind of how it goes. But, like, there's a guy who knows what he's doing. And unfortunately, he has the unfortunate task of having to go to Sacramento and try to bring any sort of stability to that program.
Looked like it was almost Mark Jackson. So
Mark Jackson dodged a bullet.
And the Los Angeles Lakers might be shooting him another one.
Man, that is tough for like in any sport. Teams like that where you're just like, you just know almost nothing good is ever going to happen, right? But if you get offered a head coaching job, you know what I mean? You kind of have to take it, right? It's like David Coley going to the Texans.
Yeah.
You know this is not going to end well for you.
Try to get some of those checks guaranteed.
But
that's all you can do.
You can't say no because there's so few of these jobs.
I just saw a pretty funny tweet that is sort of continuing to double down on making fun of the current Royals, and I don't really want to. I do feel some conflict. It's also a visual joke. I'll send it to you, but it doesn't translate all that well to audio anyway. It just sucked me back into the pit of like, oh yeah, I really thought we were gonna start with Royals tonight. At some point today, Rudy and I had been texting, and sometimes we have to keep an eye on the schedule to figure out like, hey, we want to talk about Royals. But, we're on at night, and sometimes they play at night. We don't want to talk about Royals during the Royals game, whatever. Just stuff we do on a day-to-day basis, kind of, keep the trains moving. And Rudy was like, oh, they got a day game today, so they would do play, but we could talk to somebody tonight. And this game happened. Well, I was like, I don't want to. What are we going to do? Bully Lesky and try to join us at 7:30?
Also, when we made this decision,
we'll play you minicamp audio instead.
When we did make this decision, at that time we were 7 to 10. So the thought process was,
that's true,
right? We'll have Matt because Matt Derrick Mondays. Gotta have Matt.
You've got to.
So the thought process was like, hey, we can have Matt and Lesky.
But I was even thinking, like, even once the schedule got shortened because of the NBA game again tonight at 9, I was thinking, well, we could squeeze 2 guests into a 2-hour period. I miss talking to Lesky and Alec. But
Alec's too busy writing about Krispy Kreme.
I don't know that I've even seen.
Like, it's essentially so he wrote a story.
I missed it.
His most recent one is about how Bobby Witt Jr.'s bat got made. And it's in like
that sounds right up my freaking alley.
Yeah, I just vaguely read the tweet, like the headline. I think it is. It's in, I think, an old Krispy Kreme factory, maybe, or something like that.
Oh, fantastic!
Something along those lines.
Well, we didn't have him on tonight, but go read this story from Alec, and I will do the same shortly. Yep, I totally whiffed on this morning.
This is where Alec is very good talking about baseball and stuff, right?
Yes.
But like this is where he shines.
He's so good.
It's these type of stories that really aren't about the sport itself, right? It is these weird little stories and anecdotes about how Bobby Witt Jr.'s bat got made.
That's fantastic. And also,
right? Like
that has to happen when you lose the series to the Orioles and you're playing games that were rained out and trying to make doubleheaders happen. And here's actually, I had a legitimate baseball question I wanted to ask you, Rudy, from today's game.
1993.
No, that I didn't ask for Jackson Coar's ERA, so no, that's not. That's not right.
Solid tweet today about Hunter Green, Reds' young promising pitcher who literally throws every pitch like 105 miles per hour, but yet people are hitting like 400 off it. It's too straight. Just like Jackson Coar. Can't throw a straight fastball. Can get killed.
Again, like I don't feel good making fun of pitchers who are younger than me. It makes me sad that they're not better. So here's my legit question for you.
Okay.
Carlos Hernandez today went 4 2/3, gave up 7 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Don't answer this too quickly. How would you categorize that start?
Promising? Not promise. Bad. It's not the worst start in the world, right?
That's the thing.
It's a bad start.
This is where I got hung up.
I'm gonna let you go because I think we're about to say the same thing you're about to say.
There are so again, here's the stat line, okay? 4 2/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. Through 51 strikes on 81 pitches.
He's just not missing enough bats, man.
That is not a good starting pitching stat line.
No.
But we have seen starting pitching stat lines this year with 7 hits, 6 earned runs in just flat 2/3 of an inning.
Bubich is allergic to the second inning. Can't get there.
Like I almost, because the phrase almost escaped betwixt my lips earlier. I was talking about how I did not want to wait in McDonald's drive-through for 2.5 hours to get one RBI from Ryan O'Hearn. I was going to say, and you have Carlos Hernandez out there just giving the game away. But you know what? That's not true. All of that damage came in the 5th. Those are all fifth. There was 4 scoreless. Now look, it is the Orioles, a bad baseball team.
Yeah.
But Carlos Hernandez gave you 4 good innings, and then everything fell apart. Is that a bad start? Do you know how
I'm already
Cal
in.
Eldred would cut off a pinky to guarantee that all of his starters could give him 4 scoreless?
Maybe he has.
Maybe he has. I don't know. Mike Matheny would shave his beautiful hair.
Well, I don't know about that.
I don't know either.
Can't get rid of the good mane. Then what are you? I'm already in tank for some number 1 prospect who we'll see in 5 years mode. Just wait. The Royals are going to finish, because this is how it always goes. The Royals are going to finish with the 2nd overall pick, but it's not going to be the worst because the Reds are quite literally trotting out a JV high school baseball team.
Literally JV, because it's Joey Votto and a bunch of junior varsity players. Wow, that's pretty good.
And they're going to get some generational player who will obviously leave in like 6 years, but that could have been our generational player. Who
For
would leave
6
in
years.
6 years. But of course, if we drafted him, he wouldn't be any good because we can't. At least if he was a pitcher. If he was a hitter, he's got a chance, but we can't develop a pitcher to save our lives.
I had to stop myself.
That Greinke.
I had to stop myself before I bleeped on Carlos Hernandez, because it's just in the scheme of Royal starts. That was definitely a top half start. If you were allowed to cut it off after 4, it'd be a top 5 start of the season. That's where we're at. That's why it feels like driving 45 minutes to get to a McDonald's to wait in line for their ice cream machine not to work. I really thought, and here's tap my chest, hand up. This one's on me, coach.
My bad.
Hey, that one. Hey, look, I mean, don't review that. I wasn't flagrant or anything, but I want you to know I know what I did. I felt a little bit of energy after opening day.
Bobby Witt had the walk-off. Game hit winning, not walk-off, but game-winning double.
I never thought they were going to be 500. Never. I didn't think they were going to win 90 games after opening day. I honestly, and again, maybe I shouldn't admit this. I don't know. But by the time training camp got here last year, there are pitchers who I know made appearances for the Royals in the last 20 or 30 games or whatever. It was probably 30 is a lot of baseball. They have not yet played 30 games this year. I know. Rudy just went, woof.
Are we sure about that?
9-17, baby.
I think they've had 30 games postponed.
They've definitely, I'm sure they've been scheduled for that. The Orioles this was game 29 for them.
The Royals have had so many games postponed because of weather.
I am confident that if we went to the last 30 games of the year last year for the Royals, you'd be able to find some pitcher who had a relief appearance. You might be able to find a guy who started a game, I don't know, who I may genuinely have absolutely no point of reference for. Because by that point, the Royals did nothing to ensure their relevance, right? It is what it is. I hate that I feel like that in May. We started some of that talk in April. And I had somebody on Twitter, and to some level, I understand to some extent. Someone was like, "Come on, they've had a bad stretch. It's literally still within the first month of the season." Lynch was looking better. This is before his last start. I can't remember where he ended up, but it wasn't.
He's looking better,
great.
But he has not been this lights out dominant pitcher.
For
right?
sure.
It's not like he's all of a sudden started looking like a Cy Young guy. But
the guy the person that tweeted me again, like to some extent I understand it. So Lynch is getting better, Greinke's fun, Bobby Witt has this long hitting streak, and
Keller's good.
Brad Keller is legitimately good. You are going to get something fun out of the Bobby Witt, MJ Melendez sort of experience.
Defense is good.
The defense is good. You've obviously lost Mondesi already, and that stinks. You got a hot start from Andrew Benintendi and Hunter Dozier. You can itemize all the things that you like about this baseball team, and some of it is legitimately deserved and fair. I don't know why Nicky Lopez is always my argument. I'm always my name out of the hat for this one, but I think it's partially just because I feel like Nicky Lopez is legit just doing every damn thing he can do at all moments of time.
He's also cool.
But he also seems cool.
Got that Chipotle sponsorship.
Almost Entirely Sports, friend of the show, I guess, Nicky
life.
Lopez. We had him on
I like Nicky.
like a year ago. I do too. But so none of this is. I'm not mad at Nicky Lopez. I'm not mad at Jackson Kowar. I just wish it felt different, man. I really do. I just wish it didn't all taste so stale. Like the McDonald's by the time we got home with it. Was not engineered to last a 10-minute drive.
Gotta eat in the car, bro.
I was eating those fries in the car for sure. That was true. And I'd also just eaten basically a pound of popcorn while I watched, crazily, SpongeBob SquarePants kill Doctor Strange. Oh, God, I'm sorry, Rudy. I forgot you hadn't seen it yet.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Soler had like a butt strain again. What was his injury that he had in spring training? Was it abdominal?
A butt strain sounds about right.
Now we gotta look this up.
It sounds better than anything else that could actually be true. So, I mean, let's just go with it.
It was an oblique injury.
You mispronounced butt strain.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Some truly unhinged and really rabid work on the Twitch from S. Wallaby, desperately trying to get us to talk about anything other than the Royals. I totally get it, and we will here in like 1 second, I promise, because Wallaby's also pretty good at this. So they've thrown out some good things. Here's my last Royals thing. I totally understand, by the way, if it feels like we have been repeating the same Royals takes once a week since the season started, and on some level, repeating the same Royals take once a week since like 2015. We had a whole bit in those back-to-back years about how I was just predicting that they'd be a perfectly 500 baseball team, not good enough to win anything, but also not bad enough to trade anything away. And then they did it with 1 game margin of error in 2 consecutive seasons. If it sounds repetitive from me, all I can ask is that you understand that you are listening to Groundhog Day because the Royals have been playing in Groundhog Day for a while. Some of the nuances are different. There's some things that are more interesting, more exciting, but I feel basically the same. So during the break, we were talking about that, and Rudy was like, yeah, we just do a once-a-week therapy session, and we talk about anything else for the rest of the week. That's what's going to happen here. We're doing a whole show on Thursday completely devoted to the NFL releasing their schedule. That is the plan from 6:45 until 10 p.m. on Thursday. We're just going to go wait for the schedule to come out, talk about the schedule, go game by game, have our Chiefs guests, all that. That's Thursday. No show tomorrow, late show 9 to 11 on Wednesday, and then a regular show from 7 to 10 on Friday, presumably with Sterling and Mick at times, but have not yet confirmed that. At one point, briefly last week, we did begin trying to figure out what members of the Kansas City Chiefs would be, what their Pokemon would be. As Wallaby has suggested that Patrick Mahomes is Mewtwo. I think that's a great call. I think that's just about perfect. Essentially created in a lab to be unstoppable god. I think that's about right. Orlando Brown is Hariyama. That makes a lot of sense also. That's the massive fighting type.
Yeah.
I do think right now there's an argument to be made that the Chiefs' offensive line has 4 Hariyamas, and then I don't know what Creed Humphrey would be, but I just think he has to be something different since he's actually hiking the ball back. But maybe it's just 5 of them. It's a pretty good team. We established that Leo Chanel is Machoke. Do you have one for Juju Smith-Schuster? What's the evolution of the little fire ape, Infernape or something, little starter?
So you have Chimchar.
What does it evolve into?
Monferno, and then Infernape.
Infernape, I think of just being like pretty good wingspan, rangy athlete, you know. But I don't. That might be too much. That might be a Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you know, a burner. They say he's a fire type. All right, fair enough. So what is Juju Smith-Schuster? I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah, because you got to think of, like, you need...
What's a tough Pokemon?
You need one with some showmanship, right?
That's
like,
true.
Juju's about the TikTok. Like that
Mr.
matters.
Mime.
Well...
I don't know. That's my best. I'm thinking showmanship.
Yeah.
That's the performing Pokemon. I think MVS is a fire type, you know.
Yeah.
I think Juju is probably maybe electric, you know, there's a little electricity in his game, but it's also a wide receiver can be a grinder, you know, you can be a rock type of some sort.
Oh, for sure.
You got lots of options
I
there.
do like electric type for Juju. That feels pretty good. Which one?
I also like that Wallaby has basically taken up their time to just be a producer for this show, because several other things, like in the Google Doc, and also something I've forgotten, I do want to talk about the idea that apparently the WNBA wants to expand very soon, a couple teams in the next few years. Here's the short version on the front. Kansas City is maybe the single most logical home for a new WNBA team anywhere in the country. I would say that maybe the places that could step the line in front of Kansas City might be places where they would just put them in a currently functioning NBA stadium where you could say, hey, we'll just double up. Lots of WNBA cities also have NBA teams, but holy smokes, man. I'm not holding my breath on Kansas City getting an NBA team anytime, quote unquote, soon. Because I even mean, like, I think that whenever they expand to 32, it's Seattle and Vegas.
Just got to wait for Mahomes to make a bit more of this money.
Right.
And then he can just buy his own team.
I think that there is a chance that Kansas City has an NBA team whenever Patrick Mahomes has enough money to buy one.
When he becomes a billionaire?
Yes, whenever he is, like, post-career. I don't think we're getting an NBA team here in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
We absolutely could end up with a WNBA team here, and I think Kansas City is, one, kind of pulling it together on, like, supporting women's professional sports, but also the WNBA. I am not going to pretend to you like I have been a deeply rooted super fan. Just to give you my, like, honest progression here was didn't really pay much attention to it. Didn't really, I don't know, not terribly invested on any particular level. Then Twitter starts buying into it a little bit. You saw what happened with F1 this weekend with Formula One in Miami, and 6'10" Paulo Mahomes.
Man, Mahomes grew a lot this offseason. All I gotta say is that makes me excited.
My favorite thing about that, if you didn't know, a F1 Sky Sports commentator tracked down. I can't remember Paulo's last name now. Now I'm doing the same thing. Banchero, thank you. From Duke, now NBA prospect, etc. He's just tall and has some hair. I don't know. I'm not. Somebody in his ear, I think, told him go talk to Patrick Mahomes. So he went up to Paulo Banchero to try to talk and said Patrick something. Later, he said he got bad information in his ear. I'm willing to blame the producer. I'm good at that.
They clearly look like different to us because we see them. I can kind of like there is like just enough there that I would understand that if you're honestly somebody from London who probably has never seen either of these two people before, I can understand. Like they look similar enough, not that similar, but like just enough. Again, for any of us who live here in America,
hard for me to be there because I've seen Patrick Mahomes a great many times.
It's impossible, right? But I can kind of get it. Also, like
he said the phrase "bad information in my ear" or something like that. So I'm guessing somebody said go talk to Mahomes.
Lebo made the point to me too earlier today because even though Pablo Banchero is much taller, it's like, hey, when you're that short, everybody over 6'3" is just tall, right?
Sure.
You can't. 6'3", 6'8", it's all the same when you're a little short guy.
When you're a nail, everyone's a hammer, I think is the famous saying. Now, that's a good point. How on earth did we get there from you talking about how Kansas City needs to start a campaign for WNBA team? F1
Pablo
Twitter.
Banchero is going to buy a WNBA team for us.
No, F1 got the Netflix audience
for us?
and the Twitter audience, and all of a sudden you go, it's like I kind of want to know what's going on here. That started happening with the WNBA to me. Like, there are people on my timeline tweeting about, and also during the women's college basketball tournament, NCAA college basketball tournament. Sometimes just seeing a reminder on Twitter of, hey, turn the channel to whatever, UConn is whatever. I just have started doing that more often. And then you do that and you realize, like, oh, the product is really good. Why don't we care about this? Is it because they're women? That seems sort of off to me. Why? Hey, you know what? Let's take a moment and reflect on our own society. Anyway. But I'm just telling you, as somebody who's like not been, I did not grow up a huge WNBA fan or anything. I think in a heartbeat, if you get a little bit of that buzz around a potential WNBA Kansas City team, I think we would. I think we would be there.
You know he's going to be part of that ownership group.
I think we would be there in a minute. And I really think that in a city that really does see, and oh, there went my headphones, Rudy. You touch the board to just move a piece of paper and everything went. In a city that really does know and appreciate basketball, I think that if you had an emotional investment reason to watch WNBA basketball because you have a team representing your city, headphones are back. Oh, now they're gone again. We're good. Nope, we're good. I think you would invest back in that emotionally in a way that would end up being like good for the city. We've got a whole arena for them whenever they're ready. And frankly, I don't know if you still want to say, hey, well, I still want Kansas City to end up with an NBA team. Great. Well, you support a WNBA team for 10 years, and whenever the NBA is looking to move some other franchise or whatever, after they've already expanded to 32, or they want to expand to 34, whatever, you put together a pretty good resume. But I really think that the Kansas City would embrace that. And even if you go, I don't know that I would say I think that as everyone around you did, I think you would probably follow suit if you really do care about sports.
I mean, I think that's something that's been insanely evident just over the last decade of the largest reason why women's sports aren't as popular as men's sports or just weren't popular is just the fact that they just weren't marketed, right? Because we've seen that really over the last 2 years.
Yes.
You've seen women's sports marketed in a different way, and because of that, interest has grown, right? Like, and now, why were women's sports not marketed the same way male sports were? Large part because a lot of
centuries of misogyny.
Yeah. And men making these decisions, right?
Sorry, hold on really quick, just before any women rightfully correct me on this one.
Millennia of misogyny.
Probably longer than that even. Who knows?
An eternity of misogyny.
But like we've seen that over the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
it goes to Twitter, right? Like when you
Yes.
when you actually put effort into promoting a sport, like people get behind it. And again, like this city, I think we have shown it with the Casey Current. Like I like especially I would say like as a resume for like why a WNBA team should
Yes.
be here. I mean, look, we're not just putting the Casey Current in Sporting Stadium. They're playing there currently, but they are building their own stadium for them.
Which
there's an effort because it's not just
Which is
having
going to be an
teams.
attraction in and of itself, which is exciting.
It's easy to get like a team to a city, right? Like that, or I mean, relatively easy, right, compared to everything. But like you can, it's showing that you actually care enough to build facilities.
Yeah,
like that's the thing that so many women's sports have like lacked is like you get an ownership group, rich people, they buy this team, and then very little money actually gets put into the team. We're seeing that here with the Casey Current's ownership group. They are putting money into the women's team, not about trying to share stuff with other people to cut costs. It's no, we're building you all this stuff.
Yeah,
right? Like that's a great resume builder.
We're going to invest in this professional sports franchise as if it were a real professional sports franchise.
And that seems crazy.
Yeah.
But it's awesome.
And there's the WNBA still has their own problems with that within their own structure of what it means to have owners that are willing to pay for your private jets versus not. But man, I think it'd be awesome.
If you want an NBA team, what's a good way to show you like professional basketball? It's by having a WNBA team you can support, that you actually show up to and support, right? Like,
right.
And again, like, I'm obviously, we kind of talked about this earlier, right? Like there's always somebody mad on Twitter, obviously.
Yes, of course.
I think most people in Kansas City are kind of behind the idea, but anybody who's not because they would rather have a NBA or NHL team, that's fine. But again, having a WNBA team is not detracting from that.
No.
If we get it's not like we're being told, hey, you can have a WNBA team, but that means you can never have an NHL. That's not how that works. You can have it all. And I'm all for the city, especially from a sports standpoint. I want it all.
Yeah.
I want every team, every sport. Give me a froth team at some point, right? Like bring it all. Bring it all to the city.
I guess I found where I'm willing to draw the line. And it might be at Froth.
I don't know, man.
Not by merch.
Watch it.
As long as their jerseys don't cost $475.
Wow.
Yeah,
specialty sports.
I think that anybody who is holding on to 20 years of I can't dunk is largely doing that because they haven't re-examined that in the last 20 years. And then I think that as a signpost of the Kansas City sports world, it would be tremendous. So, and
like I'm not gonna be like, as somebody who once was a 13-year-old dumb idiot boy, I definitely have the thought, well, like, oh, I prefer the men's sport because they're just more athletic. And then you realize as you grow older and you start watching, like, especially even college men's sports, a lot of those guys can't dunk.
Correct.
Right? Like this notion that, like, all men basketball players. Like, no, I watch professional NBA players that cannot dunk a basketball, and they're still. Steph Curry does not dunk often. He's not fun because he dunks.
Correct.
That's right. He's fun because he's this insanely skilled dribbler and shooter. And guess what? Those exist on the WNBA too. Don't get me wrong. Dunking's fun.
Dunks are great.
But there's so much more.
If that is where if that's the spot that you start in a conversation about women's basketball, you have not watched any. Like that again, that is it. I think that most, and I do think, to be generous with what I expect of other people, which has never come back to bite me before.
Never.
I do think that most people who actually enjoy basketball on literally any level, I'm not saying you got to be a technician with it. I think if you enjoy basketball, turn on WNBA game as their season has just sort of started getting going right now. Turn on WNBA game and say, would I care if there was a big KC logo somewhere on here? If it had my city's name on it somewhere? Would I get invested in these players and their stories and this league altogether? I think most people in this audience would. And I'd be all for it. So there you go. There's a little something that's not related to baseball or rookie mini camps. We will talk to Matt Derrick in about 5 minutes. Are we going to talk to him next segment, Rudy, or not?
Take one short quickie.
All right.
One quickie break.
We'll
or
take
one quickie segment.
We'll
break
take
is longer. Segment's quick.
We're going to take a longy break, quickie segment, longy break, Matty, Derrick, somewhere in there along this almost entirely sportsy, itty-bitty showy.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
PGA Tour Golf comes to Kansas City at the Advent Health Championship May 16th through the 22nd at Blue Hills Country Club. Witness the next wave of stars on the PGA Tour fight for their tour card from the Champions Club, located on the exciting Par 5 18th hole. With a comfortable mix of golf views and hospitality, including all you can eat and drink, it's a great spot to take in all the action. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit AdventHealthChampionship.com.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon, you wish would never end. The homemade taste of
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Is 17 a receiver?
Yes, 17 is a receiver. Let me go back. It is Harold Carmichael, played for the Eagles and the Cowboys, 71 to 84.
With Joshua Brisco.
Who says this isn't a sports show?
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Wallaby on Twitch is when the official 53-man roster is released. Can we go through and make a Pokemon equivalent roster? We can probably get it done in no more than 2 hours. Sounds like some good AES After Dark. I think that might be one of those podcasts where we do it because it's 4 hours, but we just sort of say early on, like, hey, disclaimer, this whole bleep is about Pokemon and the Chiefs, and so Honestly, Wallaby, if you want to just give us your phone number, I can just call you as I'm driving home tonight and just do it for you, because it's probably an audience of one situation regardless. We'll talk to some more people with Matt Derrick next.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WA. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
You got to have me on for Talk Like a Pirate Day again this year because I choked. I mean, I need a second swing at that one.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You might think, if you're a fool, that the NFL season does in fact rest. Oh, no. Are you new here? Hi. Welcome to the NFL schedule, where not only does the NFL draft give us some stuff to talk about last week, and frankly, I feel like there's still more to talk about from the guys the Chiefs did select, but rookie mini camps have started and concluded since we last spoke to you, as they made that all happen over the weekend and wrapped up with their third and final day of all of that today out at Arrowhead. And we have some audio from it that we can bring you a little bit later on. And of course, right now, we have a man on the scene in the workroom, watching practice, back out there, no question, sweating from every possible sweat pore because it was 95 degrees. Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. You can follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick. Matt, bucket hat today, visor today, regular hat today, just freewheeling. What was the strategy in the heat?
I thought about going with my San Diego hat, but I was concerned that the players might think that means I'm an old man. So I just went with the Super Bowl 54 cap.
Yeah.
Just to, wear ball cap. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then just to let people know, hey, I'm a Super Bowl reporter.
Yeah. Hey, rookies. Hey, we're not all rookies out here. Some of us are seasoned vets. Some of us have won a chip.
We've been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, we.
Get there, Justin.
I covered a Super Bowl. I sat in an uncomfortable seat.
Brian Cook today gave you credit for doing or not today, but this week gave you credit for doing your homework. He recognized. He recognized the pure bona fides that you bring to the media room.
Game recognized game.
That's right.
That Rudy took the words out of my mouth. I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. Game recognizes game.
It's beautiful. I got a handful of things that I want to get to throughout camp, both on the field and in the media room and everything. But the one little piece of semi-news is the Giants did finally cut James Bradberry, which even that is sort of odd. Like, it's not like they're going to do something else with that cap space right now. Whatever. I don't know. It's the Giants. I'm not going to try to understand all of their moves. Yeah, whatever. But Bradberry made a lot of sense for the Chiefs 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, whatever. And then all they've done since then is just add defensive backs. So now that he's no longer a trade candidate but a free agent, what's your feeling on that? Would he still be an upgrade? Would it make sense for the Chiefs? Would it make sense for him to come to Kansas City?
I mean, yeah, I certainly think it would actually make sense. I mean, when we're talking about the bodies, and the Chiefs have certainly thrown numbers at it, but if the Chiefs keep 5 or 6 corners, would James Bradberry be one of the best 6 that they had if he was on the roster? Yeah, he would. Yeah. I mean, it would mean that you're probably going to have to try and sneak somebody that you really like onto a practice squad because, hey, we're going to rattle off 5 or 6 names here. Okay, L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, Rashad Fenton, Joshua Williams, DeAndre Baker. The list keeps going on and on. I mean, we're not even done yet. Jalen Watson. I mean, I'm forgetting a draft pick because I can't remember all the draft pick names.
Jalen Watson was the last corner. Najee Johnson is a safety. They spent a future pick on Lonnie Johnson.
I guess I named all the corners.
Well,
then I hadn't got the Lonnie Johnson yet. Yeah.
This show is not going to let you not mention Lonnie Johnson.
Who's he?
So if they added James Bradberry, what would you have? You would have 9 players for 6 spots. Mm-hmm. And that's if you're keeping 6, which is a lot of corners, but you could do it. I mean, they've done it before. Still means you're saying goodbye to 3 of those guys. So take your 3 that you don't like, and, a couple of them can get to the practice squad. So, yeah, I mean, it's doable. Now, it's a lot easier to trade for a James Bradberry and get him in your team because then you don't have to compete with anybody. Mm-hmm. Now you can run the chance that there's somebody else who's going to want to pay him a little bit more money. If I'm the Chiefs, hey, for a very reasonable deal, sure, I'll sign James Bradberry, but I'll make a very controversial statement. I told this to Jason Anderson, I think, last week. Who is James Bradberry when he was with the Giants? He's Rashad Fenton with a $13 million cap hit. I don't think that there's a whole lot of improvement there. I mean, would he be better than a rookie? Would he be better than DeAndre Baker? Yeah. But does he step into the starting lineup for this team? I don't know, because I think Trent McDuffie's going to start. I know L'Jarius Sneed's going to start. I think Rashad Fenton should start, although this is another one of those guys that the Chiefs seem to have spent an inordinate amount of time over the last 3 years trying to find anybody to play in front of Rashad Fenton. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would compare it to the Royals, but Rashad Fenton's a whole lot better than like Ryan O'Hearn.
Right.
I mean, this is like the Royals 10 years ago when they were trying to find anybody that would play instead of Whit Merrifield.
Who
You know
do
what?
you think?
They should probably just let Rashad Fenton play.
Who do you think went and personally, like, I don't know, like kicked Steve Spagnuolo's dog more between Rashad Fenton and Juan Thornhill?
Probably definitely Thornhill.
Yeah,
I mean, that's definitely happened. And you know what? The funny thing is, I never heard either one of them ever call him Steve Spagnuolo.
McDuffie doubled down. In the Zoom presser, it was very forgivable. Calling him Spagnolia again in person was a big swing for McDuffie. Here's
I'm just teasing.
no, look. Hopefully everyone understands
I'm not
that.
that big of a jerk if Trent is listening.
Well, also, hey Trent, if you're listening, I don't know if you noticed, but Matt Derrick covered a Super Bowl, and he has the hat to prove it. So why don't you do it in the playoffs?
And Brian Cook says I do my homework, so game recognizes game.
So let me just run this by you. This is one of those takes that I like tweeted earlier, but haven't even talked about on the radio yet. And so if you think it's dumb, it won't hurt my feelings that much. I mean, it will hurt. They'll hurt a little. I'll think about it when I'm driving home tonight, but probably not like laying in bed. You know.
But he will.
But I might. I do think that you want to add James Bradberry to this team. If you're Brett Veach, you make that phone call. I don't know that it makes a lot of sense for James Bradberry to come here, largely for some of those reasons you laid out. In particular, I'm thinking if even if he starts week 1, which would theoretically push Trent McDuffie to being the third guy, which I don't think is terribly likely or a great look. But let's say that he does start. Or that even by the end of the year, that McDuffie and Snead are your technical starters, and then Bradberry comes off the bench and plays 75% of your snaps or whatever, and then kicks Snead into the slot whenever you do that, right? If you're James Bradberry, you are risking your 1 year, hey, don't forget about me deal before you hit free agency again, potentially getting stuck behind a guy named Legarius that most other fan bases still aren't going to have heard of by the end of this year. Like that, whenever he inevitably signs with the Eagles next offseason, they're going to say, who is Legarius? Where did Legarius Snead go to school? Like, I don't know. I don't know that it would make sense for Bradberry to be here anymore now that he does have the freedom of choice of being a free agent now.
Well, you're right. I mean, in the sense that, hey, James Bradberry's he's got a couple of options. One would certainly be you sign a 1-year prove-it deal somewhere, and maybe that's what's going to be available. Because you know what? At the end of free agency, at this point, teams aren't just laying around with a bunch of cash.
Yeah.
There is not a $35 million 3-year deal sitting out there for James Bradberry because nobody has that kind of money. The Chiefs, of all people, actually have some of the most money, and they're probably not going to give you that kind of a deal. So you're probably going to end up with, optimistically, maybe $3 million plus a ton of incentives. If you sign an incentive-laden deal, where do you want to go? You probably want to go to a team where you're going to get a lot of playing time so you can meet those incentives. Would that be in Kansas City? I don't think so. I mean, if it's an incentive-laden deal, you're really running the chance of not being able to hit those benchmarks here. Mm-hmm. If you want to sign a, $3 million deal with no incentives and go ring shopping for a year and then cash in and try and hit the, big-time free agency next offseason, it's the place to come. Yeah. Because, if you have the stink of an AFC championship or, a Super Bowl ring on your finger, you're going to be a lot more expensive in free agency next year. So, to me, if you want to win, you want to get a ring, you want to do that this year, come to Kansas City. If it's all about the money and just getting the most you can this year and just the most you can next year and winning be darned, go anywhere you want to. Yeah. It's probably not here.
Yeah. What's your percentage chance that James Bradberry is a Chief? Then we can put this to bed. We got to get percentages again. We got a chance to do some math.
It's a decent chance because, I know the Chiefs were interested before, and I would imagine that they're interested in anything less than, the $13 million cap hit. I'll say 24%.
That's slightly higher than I expected, but still not mathematically probable. So I think
not a slam dunk, but it's in the realm of possibility.
I think that seems eminently fair to me. Back to the actual days of camp and practice and whatnot. I have not heard glowing reviews of the quarterback play, so I have also not necessarily heard grand reviews of. I don't know what exactly you're able to take away from rookie minicamp, but you got to see and hear from most of the rookies. Anything stand out to you either positively or negatively, kind of at surface level?
Yes, your quarterback play at rookie minicamp is always questionable. because, you got a quarterback who's probably, except for, in this case, Anthony Gordon, working with a playbook they've never seen before. But even in Anthony Gordon's case, you're working with a bunch of receivers, running a bunch of plays they've never heard of before. And in this case, you have an offensive line that I believe only had one guy who ever played center in college. So, there was a decent amount of picking up some snaps off the ground during rookie minicamp, and you're trying to spit out these plays. So, yeah, I mean, it is. Even though it's a passing camp, it is not favorable for quarterbacks or offenses. So, set that aside. Other than that, I mean, I think the one of the best takeaways for the Chiefs is just that the rookie class looked like they belonged. Now, this was not a full-out, rookie class effort. Sky Moore and Brian Cook were kind of held in reserve a little bit with their injuries, so you didn't really get to see them unleashed. Justin Ross, the guy that everybody wanted to see, the unsigned free agent, the Chiefs also kind of put the brakes on a little bit. I mean, he wasn't necessarily a full go either, although we did learn, thanks to Andy Reid using the word orthotics today, which was great.
Yes.
That was maybe one of the reasons on Saturday. But I think that for the 10 draft picks, they looked the part. George Karlaftis pretty much owned the place and could do anything he wanted to. So those are good things. I mean, I didn't think that there was a lot of terribly bad takeaways to take from it. I mean, I thought that what Andy Reid said today was highly accurate, which was that it was probably pretty rough on Saturday. Guys looked a little bit better on Sunday because they kind of started figuring things out a little bit. And today, hey, it was a decent day of football despite the fact that there was a 40-mile-per-hour wind blowing kicks out of the end zone.
So you mentioned my two names that hit on being Sky Moore and Justin Ross, again, both being limited with their various injuries. But I do think that with what Andy Reid said, I am making a solemn promise here. We're very bad at actually following through on audio, but I want to play the Justin Ross audio after we let you go next segment or whatever to let people hear from Andy Reid in particular on that. Because one thing that I thought was interesting is that he also said that the Chiefs aren't really like, they're not planning on having a long ramp up necessarily for Ross from like a injury rehab. He's in a knock off the rust stage, not a rehab stage, I guess, is sort of how I would summarize what Andy Reid said. Do you think I heard that right? Do you think there's anything to note there as we just sort of wait to hopefully see Justin Ross maybe do something in training camp?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, it is. I got the sense, and it certainly wasn't anything that Andy Reid said, but it was just that the way that he was kind of managed was that maybe they were just protecting him a bit this weekend. Yeah. I mean, it was not trying to throw him too deep into the pond too early. Certainly letting him knock the rust off. I mean, remember, he had the foot surgery for the
foot thing. It was the foot thing,
Stress fracture.
It was a foot thing.
Yeah, that early onset dementia getting to me.
Yeah. We've all taken repeated blows to the head in one form or another.
I hadn't played competitive football since the stress fracture surgery, so there's certainly some knocking the rust off there.
Stress fracture. I didn't even know that it was technically a stress fracture.
Josh took all of his hits to his pancreas, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately, it wasn't all of them to my pancreas. Just enough.
I think most of the punches I took were below the belt. So that tells you a lot right there. But, so there was certainly a certain amount of it, I think, was just letting him knock the rust off. But, two, I think that also there's probably a little bit of managing expectations, protecting him a bit there rather than setting him out, immediately, first opportunity, back from surgery, and putting him in a spot where, because as Andy Reid does, he does not like to put guys in situations where they're going to fail. And doesn't necessarily mean that Justin Ross would have failed, but, they didn't want to put too much on his plate this weekend. So I think that certainly it's that they're just going to bring him along slowly from that standpoint. But no, you're right. This isn't a project. I don't feel like that this is a red shirt guy by a stretch of the imagination. I feel like this guy can make it a roster.
What do you think? What do you think is reasonable? Like from your slightly now updated from these last few days, your educated guess or whatever. Like what might his process look like that you'd be comfortable, potentially betting on or whatever?
Before this weekend, I would have even thought that, hey, if they managed him a certain way, that I would have thought, hey, not even playing this year was an option. Maybe they just want to give him a complete redshirt year, See how he handles everything with the spinal issue. See how the foot is. Don't push him too fast. Let him learn and just take it slowly from that standpoint. The fact that they had him out there on the field, I mean, I think tells me that that's not a consideration. They are certainly going to let him play, but how much can he play? I mean, it's still been 3 years since we've seen him playing at a super high level. Yeah. Maybe this year, maybe he was playing at a higher level than we thought, and Clemson's quarterback was just terrible. Mm-hmm. There's a reason to believe that. I still thought there were, some times on the film that I saw a guy who was a little bit hesitant and, probably still needs to get hit a few times before he has that full confidence in the body once again. Yeah. But what can he be? I mean, I don't think that I can make a case that Justin Ross is going to go out and have a 1,000-yard season and be the team's number one receiver.
Right.
I think they're going to give other guys opportunities. I mean, he's going to have to earn his options. So to me, I mean, a really good season for Justin Ross, I think, would be if he starts the season as the number 6 receiver, and hey, maybe he gets 200 or 300 yards. I mean, that would be a high watermark for me.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, there's a lot of people in front of him, and he would just have to absolutely knock everybody's socks off to move up that depth chart and get more shots. Because you know what, they're going to give Sky Moore his opportunities. And it's not like Justin Ross is going to just all of a sudden fly the depth chart ahead of him.
Yeah. Oh God. Maybe you can take that a step further. I think if he is on the active roster next season, I'm thrilled because or is assumed to be on the active roster going into next off season, because that's when Juju is a free agent. Right now, Hardman is a free agent. MVS it's almost year to year. It's probably going to be a 2-year deal, whatever. But as you see that room thin out. I hope that they see something from him this year and are glad to have him for the years to come. Let's talk about the defense, though. You said it's a tough stretch for the offense altogether for all the reasons you've already explained. George Karlaftis came into this camp with a reputation for his motor. Andy Reid talked about it some today. Got off not even a joke, just I think an honest assessment that made you guys in the media room laugh, because it seems like Karlaftis brought that in for this weekend as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was the reputation that the guy had, is that he's persistent and relentless. And he was that. I mean, absolutely on the field. I mean, and Andy Reid even talked about the fact, even the walkthroughs, they kind of had to come dial it back a few notches. I mean, those are good things to hear. You want to hear that about your number 1 draft pick. And like I said, I mean, he looked the part. I mean, he didn't look out of place out there. I mean, he's got good size. He's obviously had great speed. To me, the one matchups to watch, were him going up against Darian Kennard the handful of times, just because, I mean, that was the best offensive lineman out there on the field at the time. And no, you're not hitting. There's no pads, so let's wait and see. As just for my post on ChiefsDigest.com, I mentioned, let's wait until the pads come on before we anoint him as the second coming of Tamba Hali. Mm-hmm. But the speed and everything was there this weekend, and and the little spots that we got to see was a lot to like.
Anything else on the field before we end up back in the presser room and everything? But from Leo Chanel, Darian Kennard, Isaiah Pacheco, anybody that we haven't mentioned yet, Cook, any of those guys show you anything where you that's a little different. That might not be normal.
Yeah, I thought there were, one of the things that stood out, frankly, was, with Brian Cook, is that this is a guy that he went through individual drills. They didn't let him. I think maybe he did a little bit of some slight walkthrough work. I mean, I don't remember seeing him on 11-on-11 action. Maybe there was today when they had the defense about 300 yards away from us, and he was hiding behind some people. But I didn't see him out there for any of the team drills. But on Saturday, he was doing the Juan Thornhill. He was standing on the goal line behind the defense the entire practice and just kind of taking those mental reps. And the fact that that's a rookie out there with the common sense and the wherewithal, the persistence and the knowledge to do that, I thought was really impressive for a guy that wasn't even necessarily working at the time. But I thought there was just a lot of good habits that you saw with these rookies. They didn't look lost and confused for the most part. Everybody, seemed like they were, certainly as the weekend progressed, and that they were getting it, and that's what you want, because when these guys get back next week and they hit the field, I mean, now is the time. That's when they have to take everything, because if they didn't learn anything this weekend about how to be an NFL player, they're going to be in trouble next week. And I certainly thought from the rookie class that, yeah, I mean, I think that they all look like they belonged.
Let's stick it on Cook. I thought his actual answer to your question, where game was recognizing game and everything, was sort of interesting, and you kind of took his time at Howard as a corner to what he learned at safety in Cincy and everything. But do you have a feel for what his role is going to be early in his rookie season, in terms of what the Chiefs ask him to do, in terms of what you think he can do at a high level?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ceiling's pretty high on him. I mean, and even some of the big Brian Cook fans will say they think he's going to be the number 3 safety at least on day one, and maybe he's the starting safety on day one. Now, I still feel like that he is better suited more to that, that role, a Tyrann Mathieu type role. I mean, a guy who can play in the box, who can play in the slot, who can do a little bit of everything. I still think you probably, and we don't have a really good sense of just how fast he is.
Yeah.
I mean, on film, he looks quick, but maybe not fast. And I think that it's maybe even it's a little bit that he's got that Juan Thornhill in him, which is just that his reactions are faster than his speed is. So he's able to make plays because he's got really good reactions, but maybe he's not the fastest guy in the world. If that's the case, that is probably somebody that you want playing in the box, and they can play in the slot and do those things, but maybe it's not the guy that you have playing single high on the back end. But this guy, you look at the film, I mean, he hits the crap out of people. You'd like to have that as being somebody that could run downhill and play. He's comfortable playing in the box. He's definitely comfortable covering and playing in the slot and taking on, and he's got the size. I mean, he's huge. So him matched up on a tight end is not going to be a mismatch whatsoever. So I think there's a lot of ways that Steve Spagnuolo can use him. I mean, like I said, back end as a single high might be the last place they would use him, but everywhere else, I think he's got a role.
I like the idea of watching him try to cover a tight end a little bit. That's a fun one I hadn't given any thought to yet. Darian Kennard also, we heard from him. He continues to say all the things you wondered about in terms of guard versus tackle. He pointed out just simply factually he has more experience at right tackle than anywhere else. But Brett Veach and Andy Reid and Darian Kennard all seem to agree that they want to see him at right tackle. Anything on the field that would assuage you of that? Anything from his press conference that stood out?
I mean, you certainly, the size stands out. He's a big guy. So he certainly looks the part of a right tackle. And like I said, I mean, even though Karlaftis got him a few times, I thought he held his own when they're going up against that. And that's a good sign, too. I mean, even if he gets beat a few times, I mean, you're hoping that George Karlaftis is a beast. And if that's the case, then when you can't hit him, he should beat you most of the time. But, Kennard, I thought he really held his own. And he also was going up against Malik Herring most of the time when he wasn't going up against Karlaftis. And Herring is also a guy that I'm really interested in. He's obviously he's a professional. I mean, he's been around for a full year. He learned a lot last year. He had an opportunity to this is the first time we really got to see him on the field, and he was impressive. So the fact that Kennard had to have some of the toughest matchups this week, and I thought he handled himself pretty well. And you're right. I mean, he's still saying all the right things, and that dude, and I say this in the best way possible, is an angry dude. I mean, that is exactly what you kind of want in an offensive lineman. I mean, and you can see that he's the kind of guy that can flip the switch. Reminds me a lot of Trey Smith, not just the backstory and everything and where they've come from, but also with just that he has an edge, and I think that's kind of guy you want on that position.
Overall, I feel pretty good at right tackle right now, just the whole position group, because we know that, I mean, I think best case scenario, Lucas Niang is still missing the start of training camp, and whatever his recovery process looks like. More important at this point for him to be healthy than to be healthy fast, I guess. But because you also have Andrew Wiley, who I thought did a very admirable league average sort of job at right tackle last year, which I say as a genuine compliment considering, what his salary cap would indicate. between Kennard and Wiley, and then Niang at whatever point he could be back. Do you share my general optimism at that position? Because for me, I'm not married to any one of these particular guys, but I think that it seems pretty unlikely that none of them are worthy starters whenever training camp wraps up.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, I think you could possibly make an argument that the Chiefs are maybe in a better situation from a tackle standpoint than they were a year ago at this time.
I think I agree with you.
I mean,
think that's true.
If for no other reason than, you've rattled off a bunch of names, and you haven't even mentioned, that they added Jaron Christian from Houston.
You're right.
Which, I mean, if he is your if he became your fourth swing tackle kind of guy, and Kennard or Wiley or even Niang comes back and is ahead of him, you're in a pretty good spot. Now, I expect that there is a possibility that Chiefs fans might find themselves having just panic and anxiety here in a couple of weeks when we get to OTAs, because I don't think Orlando Brown's going to be there. And then it's going to be a question of who's playing left tackle without Orlando Brown there. And that answer might freak some people out. But I think you're just going to have to remember Orlando Brown's going to be there, so don't worry.
Is the current answer at left tackle, it's probably Christian at this point, right? I think he's the only one of those guys that has a little experience on the left side that wasn't literally Andrew Wiley's worst tape of his life.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the way that you could do it with the least amount of movement around, which is one of the things that the Chiefs like to do. So, hey, if you banged on Wiley as the incumbent and keep him there, plug in Christian on the left side and just challenge Kennard to replace somebody. I mean, remember, Trey Smith was starting on the third team during OTAs last year and didn't stay there long. I mean, he moved his way up pretty quickly, and he would have challenged Kyle Long for split time with the ones even before Long got hurt. So that's what the Chiefs will do. I mean, they'll make the young guys, play their way up. So I think you're probably right. Now, hey, if they put Joe Tooney out there at left tackle to send a message to Orlando Brown, maybe that gets interesting. But, like I said, it's going to be OTAs. Chill. Don't worry.
I will make you extrapolate a little bit on Orlando Brown because I am chill, but I don't know if everybody is. Veach mentioned it a couple of times when talking about, I think he was talking about the defensive line last week. I think that Seren asked him about the D-line, and then he mentioned Orlando Brown's contract on a couple of occasions, and like, hey, we'll have more money get figured out whenever that all gets wrapped up. So, I mean, we can play the percentage game or whatever, or you can just sort of tell me how you're feeling, but in terms of maybe Orlando Brown's not in for OTAs, but what are the odds that he is starting under the franchise tag at all, that he would not play on the franchise tag? Any of those sort of moving parts right now? What's the heat check?
Right now, I would say I don't want to be too fatalistic, but it is a 50-49 thing for me right now. I will say 50% chance he plays under a new contract, 49% that he plays under the franchise tag, and 1% of multiverse chaos.
Okay, very good. I'm going to write down the phrase multiverse chaos in particular. Why? I'm surprised that you have it being quite that close in terms of maybe not getting the new deal. What's the hang up for you?
I mean, that'll change. I mean,
sure.
You ask me at any, you might ask me 5 minutes from now, my mood might change.
For sure.
But part of it is that, hey, right now, Orlando Brown doesn't have an agent.
Yeah.
So there's not even going to be contract talks until he figures out whether he's going to hire an agent or represent himself. I mean, at this point, not even talking. So to me, that's why I make the likelihood of him playing under the franchise tag pretty high. I mean, I still think that more than likely in these situations the deal gets done. But the Chiefs, hey, they built themselves, and Brett Veach even a year ago prepared for the possibility that maybe they do have him play under the franchise tag. Now, if they got the deal done, could you have some others? And that's where he brought in the defensive end. You know what? You get that deal done, and you free up a little bit more salary cap. Suddenly a trade or something of that nature allows you to maybe beef up that defensive end position a little bit. But you're at a spot now where you are with the cap and with Orlando that there's not a whole lot you can do other than wait for Melvin Ingram without getting Orlando Brown done.
Melvin Ingram is coming back, right? Had you heard of the unrestricted free agent tag? I figured you would have. I simply had not.
I had heard of it. I knew it existed, but I hadn't really I had not thought of it at all as far as being an option for Melvin Ingram. So when I heard that that's what Veach was going to do, I was like, that's why he's GM and I'm not. I mean, and I'm sure that not that Veach didn't know about it, but that sounds exactly like the kind of thing that Chris Shea and Brant Tillis and those guys. Right. Brant Tillis probably has the entire CBA memorized. But.
Right. I don't know if any parts of that interest you or if it's all sort of ethereal and we can leave it if it is, but it seems to me like I love the percentage. I don't actually want to put you on a percentage line on this one, but it seems like the Chiefs expect to have Melvin Ingram at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Melvin Ingram, I'll put it at 92%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
7% somewhere else, 1% multiverse madness.
Have you seen the new Doctor Strange yet?
I have not.
Okay, I have. Rudy hasn't. We wouldn't talk about it anyway because I want to preserve Rudy's experience. Like I said earlier, I don't want to spoil anything, but it was really a surprise to me whenever they decided that they were going to spend 2 hours of the 2-hour, 9-minute long movie shooting it all as a black and white silent film. I thought that was a bold artistic choice. I just want you to be prepared for that because I wasn't.
I'm now prepared and fully expecting it, so I'm going in with expectations that you have created.
At one point, SpongeBob shows up, and that's weird because that's not a Disney property.
Is that just because of my GIF?
No, actually, no. I made it. No, not at all. That would have been wild for me to make that reference just to you from our text exchange, and then just leave that for everybody else. I would do that absolutely. In fact, I will try to do that for next time. Like, hey, are you back on the Wordle horse?
I am not. I have once again. I've only
Do you think
played
you're
Wordle
done?
Twice.
Is this your?
Since the beginning
Whoa.
of the draft.
Hold on.
I have not been playing consistently either.
Hold on. Matt Derrick is. Are you announcing your Wordle retirement?
No, I'm not. I'm not retiring yet.
Okay. All right.
But it is definitely one of those things that when you lose some momentum, it's hard to get back.
Yeah.
Because, and part of it's just that with my schedule right now, I have no time during the day. And my only time to do anything like that, like activity, is generally at night before I go to bed. And Wordle is too engaging for me because I either have to think too hard or it ticks me off too much. And so then I can't sleep. So
okay, wow.
It's a bad nighttime activity for me, but it's a good daytime activity. But my days have just been too busy lately.
Yeah, the momentum thing is real. I played hundreds of hours of Animal Crossing, and then at some point I realized I was playing digital chores without anything new to really discover, and I just kind of stopped. And then it's you don't just fall back into it. So look, whenever if you need to get back into the Wordle lifestyle at any point, I'll be here for you until I lose my streak, and at that point I think I might announce my retirement.
Well, see, you're my Wordle partner.
I'm here.
So,
I'm still doing Wordle pull-ups and Wordle crunches and stuff.
Without you sending me, your updates and everything like that, I don't feel like I have somebody who's pushing me. I need a workout partner.
You're getting an Octortle tonight. I haven't done it yet today. I'm going to go in. I'm going to do an Octortle just for you.
All right, man. I'll do it for you, too.
All right, Matt Derrick, my Octortle partner forever. We'll talk to you again later.
Take care, guys.
Matt Derrick, follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick, ChiefsDigest.com, and catch him in your local back alley looking to try to find another one of those Wordle hits as he tries to decide if he's going to quit this stuff cold turkey or if he's trying to get back on the wagon.
Sorry about that. I was literally preparing for the break, so I was pulling down mine.
Yeah.
Like that. And as I was pulling it down, my finger caught yours. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It happens. Just hit this commercial break button right now, and we'll be fine. Go ahead and hit it. Just whenever you're Rudy, just go ahead and if you'll just. I know my microphone earlier was an accident, but just go ahead and fire the brake, and we can go to. Just hit the button. Any day now.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app and 810WHB.com.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Oak Ridge Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick?
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
When you show up to do the duty that the duty not that you wanted, but that this
Say
country,
duty one more time.
Duty that this country thrust on you to take a picture of Anthony Sherman's butt. You gotta wear the shirt.
With Joshua Brisco.
The fact that the payoff of duty thrust was Anthony Sherman's butt felt a little like you had maybe telegraphed your shot there. I was confused the whole way through.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Few things to get to before we step out of the way here for Warriors versus Grizzlies. That's coming up next here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Coming up in 15 minutes. Right now, Bucks and Celtics going down to the wire in Game 4 in Milwaukee. Boston trying to, right now, tie it back up. Trying to steal one on the road. But the biggest NBA news of the day, I think we can both agree, Rudy, and so we'll just say it at the same time. The biggest NBA news of today / the weekend. Award season is here, of course, and they got it right. Again, we can all agree the voters got it right because on the count of three here, if you'd like. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Monty Williams won Coach of the Year. Huh. What happened with Jokic?
Won his second MVP.
Oh.
Back to back.
Gee, what I said.
Only the fifth center in NBA history with multiple MVPs. First since Moses Moody to win back-to-back.
Moses Moody won back-to-back MVPs?
Yep.
When was that? Right now, every time I hear the name Moses Moody, I hear, I think it was Kendrick Perkins that just got his name wrong like 14 times.
Yeah.
Moses Modi.
Curtis probably mentioned that. It was one of the end of the hour questions, but at that point I had zoned out.
What was the stat you said?
It's like, or maybe it's not Moses Moody. Who is it? It was a center, back-to-back MVPs.
Hold on. It's not. Hold on.
Is it Moses Moody?
No.
Who's the center?
No,
from
Moses
like
Moody's 19.
No, not that one.
Okay.
Different Moses Moody.
What's going on?
Whose name
no,
might not
because Kendrick
totally be
Perkins couldn't
Moses
say his
Moody.
name when he got drafted. What's happening? Is this Moses Malone?
That's it.
No!
Moses Malone, Moses Moody.
No! How did that happen?
His name is Moses.
You gaslit me so hard that I just agreed that that Moses Moody won a couple of awards, but honestly, by the time I was done, my brain checked out so hard during that. The reason I asked what you said is because I was wondering, did Moses Moody somehow win a couple of awards that Jokic also won, like, overseas or something? But Moses Moody went to Arkansas.
Yeah. Moses Malone did not.
No.
And their names start with Moses.
Boy, I gotta listen more precisely so I don't just start agreeing with absolute nonsense that you say.
I was technically right.
No, you gave back-to-back MVPs to a 19-year-old.
Hey, great start to a career.
And you swung at it so hard that I assumed that I was the idiot. That's really right there. You just heard right there, ladies and gentlemen. You just heard the power of pure, unmitigated confidence.
So would you say that earned me the ring?
No. I wanted you to get a chance to talk your bleep about Nikola Jokic winning MVPs, the first center to do it back-to-back since Moses Moody.
Who's not a center.
And I will say that that Monty Williams just won his 5th consecutive Coach of the Year award in the NBA. First one to do it since John Wooden. No, that's too good, because at least that is in the past.
That Memphis coach really got screwed.
Tell me his name right now and I'll agree with you.
John Morant.
Monty Williams should be back-to-back. I can't believe they gave it to Bill Self last year. I mean Jay Villanova. What was his name? No, last year they gave it to Thibodeau, right?
Yes.
Ridiculous.
The Knicks were rocking.
The Knicks were relevant, so the Knicks were back. Therefore,
the Garden.
COTY.
The Mecca of
the Mecca was back. First one to win an MVP back-to-back since Mecca's Moody. Unbelievable. No, but I was glad for you, Rudy, that you got what I'm kind of calling your championship,
Yes.
which is that Nikola Jokic won MVP back-to-back times, first center to do it back-to-back since Udoka Azubuike.
Yep. There's only ever been 5 centers who have done it. It's Nikola Jokic, JaVale McGee, Steve Nash.
And Monty Williams, the first Suns coach of the year to win it since Igor Kokoskov, who definitively, just so everyone's clear, was the Suns head coach. Did not win the award. But no, we're splitting the ring up because we're giving it to Monty Williams and to Nikola Jokic. They both get a ring today. And who gets the ring, as always, brought to you by Ruback Fine Jewelry. You know I love talking to you about Ruback because every single time I come in with another story of Renee somehow just being like looking at her ring during while we're watching Doctor Strange. That's actually, we were in a theater, so it didn't happen then. But anytime we're watching any television in the basement, at some point over the course of a couple hours, she will look at her hand and go, "This ring's so sparkly." And it's not just sparkly, it's also like just beautifully designed. Maybe I should change the tenor of this to reach a new audience for me to tell you this. Hey, dudes, do you want to impress your girlfriend's family who doesn't think that highly of you right now? But you think that if you really nail the engagement ring, maybe you'll win her family over? Maybe they'll stop looking at you as the loser that you are? Maybe you've got one chance to get this right, and if you give her a ring pop, her father will never respect you? Is that on your mind? Or maybe you've got a, good relationship with your significant other's family, as I'm lucky enough to do. See, I got to save myself the backlash there and get a good bit out of it. That's how you know I have this whole getting engaged thing pretty well figured out, and it's even doubly true because it was true when it was ring time. Ruback handled that. Everything since then, I've just made all worse. But everything that Ruback did, an impeccable job, getting an impeccable ring. Renee got it in this rose gold, custom molded. We got these little black diamonds, north, south, east, west, with a big oval diamond in the middle that is, in fact, very sparkly. It's a beautiful ring that I'm frankly very proud to have, quote unquote, helped make. But really, I got to give the credit to Hal at Ruback because we went to him. I went first with a bunch of absolutely unhelpful, disjointed ideas. Then eventually Renee talked to him as well. We both went together and she talked about what she wanted. Then I was able to go back and close the deal. And I just couldn't be happier with it. You might think, well, Josh, you got all that in a custom ring. That probably cost you $47 million, right? No, and also if you go in with a custom ring that you want to be the process, something in the end result you have in mind, they can also help you hit that with a custom budget. So they'll make it work. They'll help you figure out what it is that you need and where you want to spend your money, and frankly, where you don't need to. Like that is a conversation that Hal will be happy to have, to say, hey, here's how we get you the most bang for your buck and the most beautiful possible ring. So go do that. Go talk to Hal at Ruback. If they're by appointment, you can set that up at ruback.co. That's ruback.co. It's where I went. It's where you should go as well. Maybe you'll win over some respect. You'll definitely end up with a beautiful piece of jewelry. And you can do that for any occasion. But for me, it was the engagement ring process. And I'm so very glad that I went to Ruback. And also now we just get to give more hardware to Nikola Jokic and Monty Williams, which is what this show really at its core has always been about. I'm horrible at actually getting to the audio that I want to play, but I told you I wanted to at least get you the Justin Ross audio that Matt, Derrick, and I talked a little bit about last segment. Andy Reid talking about Justin Ross here, he really kind of draws the line of the difference between, again, as we talked about, rust versus rehab. It seems like he is knocking off the rust, figuring some things out. There's a couple of follow-ups in here, but he started off by being asked if he had seen anything kind of pop off of Justin Ross in his brief time in rookie minicamp.
Yeah, so I kind of did. He's a big kid that's smooth and runs well enough. He's kind of feeling himself out here just a little bit. Haven't been hurt before, so in the last couple of years. But sure has a lot of talent there. And kind of look forward to getting him. He's a smart kid, smart enough to pick everything up.
Is there still a process to maybe getting him to where he was earlier in his college career?
I'd probably tell you, he was knocking the rust off here. So. But you can see the skill there.
With Justin Ross, Andy, is there sort of a plan that you have had with Rick about how quickly you want to sort of integrate him? Is this sort of should we consider him sort of a long process all the way up to training camp in terms of?
I don't think so. I think the way they'll come back for phase 2. So the last week of phase 2, and then they'll get phase 3, and then they'll have a little bit of a break and by that time he'll know what's expected. He'll see all the running that the receivers have to do, and he'll have a chance to talk to the guys. And then he's got training camp, so we'll see how it all rolls there. But right now he's good to go, and he did well with it. The first day he got his orthotics mixed up, but other than that.
Listen, getting some good orthotics is no joke. I did not have a stress fracture in my foot that I know of, but you got to get your feet right. That all I just think should be very encouraging to you if you're a Chiefs fan hoping that Justin Ross works out. He could not earn himself a roster spot today. Was not a way for him to do that. What he needed to do is start working on getting up to speed. And again, you heard this from Veach and what he said about the Chiefs doctors. You hear it from Andy Reid now. Not an issue of a long runway to get him going, just about the learning process and trying to get him back up to speed. So I think you should be encouraged by all of that. Andy Reid also talked a little bit about Sky Moore, who's been limited with a hamstring. So not a lot to see from him, but maybe a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm curious to see how he does. I mean, I didn't get much of a look here, but the thing I liked in college was he was strong, physically strong. The things they did with him, he was very good at. So whether it was a short intermediate game or there was a long game, he could do it all. He has good speed. He's got good hands, huge hands. I mean, 10 plus hands, and long arms. But he's strong. You could see it when you guys saw him on the field out there. He's put together now, so I look forward to seeing him play. Seems like a smart kid.
Got to seem like a smart kid because they were happy to bring him in. They were not going to use a high pick on a receiver they didn't think could get a grip on the offense. Big arms, big hands, well put together. Come on.
What more could you want?
What more could you want? Is it getting hot in here or is it just Sky Moore?
It's a little hot back here.
Yeah, and I actually feel great and it's nicely air-conditioned on this side. So here's the one other thing there, and I think that I don't sit at home and try to come up with the take that people are going to get mad at me for. In fact, I'm much more likely to probably try to, I don't know, do that. I would rather have fun through all this. I don't see this all as being a place to just create beef. But if there's something that I think I might end up repeating a few times leading up into and through the NFL season, it's that in a standard redraft fantasy football league, I will not have Sky Moore on my team. In a dynasty league, go for it. You want to buy that number 24 jersey, go for it. I think he will have a successful, whatever you want to say, rookie contract career in Kansas City, maybe an entire career in Kansas City. But I do think that I'm going to, until I see something different, maybe, boy, if I get one over in training camp, I'm going to be insufferable because I want this kid to be good fast. But I just have a lot of respect for how difficult of a spot it is. So both for Sky Moore and certainly for Justin Ross, doing this as a rookie early on in Andy Reid's offense, I just think is a remarkably difficult thing. But it's also different because it's the first year for Juju, first year for MVS as well. Certainly a lot to talk about leading up to camp. We're off tomorrow. We'll be back on Wednesday after the NBA game. We'll talk to you at 9 on Wednesday. Till then, bye, Mom.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The CFOs that get it, get it. The CFOs